What up, boxing world? It's your boy Cerrone Turner with Wisdom Boxing, where you can find the latest quality boxing content and news. So let's talk about it. And today we're going to talk about why we need the Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford fight. Okay, especially for my generation. And when I say my generation, I'm talking to all the people that was born in the 80s. I was born in 81, the early 80s. And, I was born, in 1981, you had Sugar Ray Leonard versus Tommy Hitman Hearns. At that time, Sugar Ray Leonard had 30 wins, 1 loss. And Tommy Hitman Hearns had 32 wins with 0 losses and 30 knockouts. Okay. So that was a big fight back then. At that time, you had 2 brothers, going heads up, going against each other. So that was big. These is like some brothers that's in their prime. So, you seeing like some of the world's greatest athletes literally going heads up. And that was epic. You seen the results. That fight is talked about to this day. A couple years later, 1987, you had Hagler versus Leonard. At that time, Hagler was, I think, like 62-2, something crazy, and Leonard was 33-1. At that time, great fights. And then, after that, as I got older, when I kind of understood the sport and really enjoyed watching it as a young grown man, I didn't really get to see a fight of that magnitude where you got African American versus African American going heads up, for the hood. When I say for the hood, that's like, the African American audience, because those kind of fight bring them all out. You know what I mean? If Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence fight, anybody who's black that lives in America, or just period, is gonna be tuned in. The ratings will be through the roof because it's a must see. So anybody that follows sports or boxing has to see that fight, because you're seeing 2 of the world's greatest athletes going heads up, and it's dog versus dog, warrior versus warrior. These are the type of dudes that's grew up in or around the hood, and seen struggle. So these dudes ain't gonna back down from nothing. These are the kind of guys, when they step in that ring, man, it's no quitting them. You will probably have to like kill them. They will go out on their shield. Okay. And so my generation needs this. I remember you had Floyd Mayweather versus Zab Judah, but that wasn't the same. That was a good fight for the hood. I'm gonna keep going back to that. Zab Judah had some losses at that time. You kind of just knew Floyd was gonna win. Wasn't the same. And you had other good fights, but it always seemed to be like, when you had Floyd versus Canelo, it was like America versus Mexico. You know what I mean? But with Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford, it's like, American versus American, black versus black, elite athlete versus elite athlete, undefeated versus undefeated, prime versus prime. Like, even in 1981, you didn't get that with Sugar Ray Leonard and Hagler, because Sugar Ray Leonard had a loss. You know what I mean? They was young pups. Him and hers was only 22 at the time. You got Terrence Crawford that I believe is like 33, and Errol Spence that's like 30. They fathers, they got kids. They on their grown man shit. They mature in life. You feel what I'm saying? They got a lot to lose. So you a man, you got kids, and you got a lot to lose, man. You willing to die for that shit. You know what I mean? And that's what I'm talking about when you got these dudes from the hood just colliding. So, my generation definitely needs this fight. I just really hope that it can happen no later than 2021, when they're respectively still in their prime. I think Errol Spence versus Danny Garcia is a great tune-up fight. If he wins that, I think the next fight, and you need to just make it happen right now. So Bob Arum, Al Heyman, whatever y'all need to do, make it happen. It needs to happen. The sport of boxing needs it. I could be here all day talking about the reasons why, but speaking from my generation, being an 80s baby, I haven't been able to get that. All I get is the replays from Marvin Hagler versus Sugar Ray Leonard, Sugar Ray Leonard versus Hearns, Duran, you know what I mean? And you seen them was wars, man. Muhammad Ali versus Frazier, you know what I mean? Muhammad Ali versus Foreman, you know what I mean? Like, them was wars. And everybody, you know, that from the hood know what I'm talking about, man. When you got, you know, some brothers that everybody know got them hands. You know, they can fight, and they can fight hella good, and they got that dog. And, you know, sometimes you get to see this dude from this hood versus this dude from this hood, and everybody got to see it. I remember certain school fights where it's like, oh, these two is fighting, and the whole schools is coming to meet, and it's like, you know, and the adrenaline and the electricity from that, you know, makes you be like, wow. So this is an opportunity for us to get that. And all fans across the world from every country, you know, the Mexican brothers would love to watch that fight. The brothers from Thailand would love to watch that fight. You know, all my white brothers and sisters would love to watch that fight. So it's a must-see for the world. It's a treat for the world, you know, and for the hood, it's like ice cream with the cherry on top. You feel what I'm saying? So we need that fight. So fans, you know, we got to do what we got to do. Post on your social medias, your YouTube accounts. You know, we got to demand that fight, and it needs to happen in 2021. Honestly, in a perfect world, it should happen around like spring or summertime of 2021. By that time, hopefully, we have vaccines or whatever, and things can kind of get back to normal. You feel what I'm saying? By the end, and that will be such a treat to the world. Because let me tell you, you get Terrence Crawford versus Errol Spence Jr. Oh, the world is watching. The world is watching. You could bet your bottom dollar the world is watching. Okay, so to all my followers and future followers, this is the beginning stages of Wisdom Boxing. Hit the like button, subscribe, tell a friend to tell a friend. This is the channel you need to stop by just to get some Wisdom Boxing. Just to get some Wisdom Boxing, you know, good content and news and accurate predictions. All right. So blessings to all. Stay tuned. We out. Peace.